All right, welcome back to the Powers on Sports podcast. We're going to do a little rapid fire this week with my local brother from another mother, Mr. TJ Rives, Buccaneer Radio Network, Three Dog Thursday podcast, which will be coming up here in a couple months again with the college football season, NFL season right around the corner. Welcome back, Mr. Rives.
Always good to be with you and hang here. I'm a man with too many shows probably, but that's better, as I keep saying to you, than not having enough shows or not enough time or not busy enough. And I just got to say, keep doing the great job you're doing. But I am posting after the very disappointing Game 1 loss by the Tampa Bay Lightning against the New York Rangers, because my man Powers put the bat signal up and said, I would love to have you as a guest, and I promised you I would come on. I thought I'd be talking about a victory in Game 1 with the Lightning having all that time off, but you got to credit New York. I don't know if that's where you wanted to begin, but I'm just putting that out there for the audience that on the timeline, when I agreed to do this, I didn't realize I would be talking about a defeat for Vasilevsky and the Lightning, but we persevere on. It's a long series.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I wasn't shocked that they lost. I was shocked they gave up a goal in the first minute of the game. And, they had some great chances in the first period and a half. That the last period and a half of the game, they didn't play real well. But give the Rangers credit. It's one of these teams you're playing every other night. You're in that rhythm. They had a great Game 7 win in Carolina, which Carolina hadn't lost a home game the entire playoffs. Tough place to play. Give the Rangers credit. They played really well.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And Vasilevsky looked human at times, including at the beginning of the third period when he gave up the quick goal again, where he had a clean look at it. What do we know? We never played goalie, much less in the NHL, but he had a clean look at it and he didn't stop it. And then you're thinking at that point, man, 5-2, they're in trouble. It ends up being 6-2.
Yep.
But the one thing we know is it's an amazing, amazing run that he in specific, but the team overall is on. They have not lost, I think, since Abraham Lincoln was the president in the Stanley Cup playoffs after a defeat. It's 17 in a row, right?
I think it's 19.
Is it up to 19?
I think it's
whatever it is, it's incredible that they don't lose back-to-back games.
Right.
And so if you're able on Friday night, as we're releasing this podcast, to find a way to win in New York and come back home 1-1, that's all you want.
Yep.
And right now the record shows they've been very, very, very good, unbeatable in the last 3 Stanley Cup playoffs after a loss. So that's what you're holding on to. The one thing that concerns you right now is that New York has so much firepower. You got to be attention to detail on defense at all times because they have so much firepower, and you're not in their head at the moment on being able to stop them after they got 6 goals. What do we know?
And remember, the Rangers beat the Lightning 3 times in the regular season too, all 3 times. So the Lightning have not beaten the Rangers this year yet. In a game. So
can I just say this? I know what we're going to see. We're going to see a bunch of New York Ranger fans make their way down.
Yes.
A lot of them live here already. A lot of them, it's the same as the Rays. A lot of them wear their Lightning or Rays stuff for every game except the New York team, and then they put the New York Yankees or New York Rangers stuff on, or New York Islanders stuff on. The Islanders don't have as many fans. So we're ready for all of that to unfold. But I got to keep putting this out there for members of the New York media that I'm talking to, fans of the Rangers I'm talking to. We could go over what the Rangers haven't done, especially since 1994, and it would take about 20 seconds. It would take you about 10 minutes to go over what the Lightning have done in the postseason in June, in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and in the Stanley Cup finals. So settle down on a Game 1 win. You didn't ask me that. I'm just blanketing that on the Powers on Sports podcast. Settle down on the Rangers this and the Rangers that.
I am going to ask you a question as a fan. Do you think it's fair and do you think it's right for franchises, and we've seen this in multiple sports, to limit the ability from the outside fan to buy tickets to an like last series, Carolina banned ticket sales outside of a certain 50-mile radius or 100-mile radius of Charlotte. Do you think it's fair for franchises to do that kind of stuff?
They can do whatever they want. They can do whatever they want. Now, the argument is if you have a true fan base, and the Lightning have a massive season ticket base that backs you, then they shouldn't be giving their tickets, selling their tickets off to opposing teams' fans, whether it is Toronto, which it was in the first series, or the Rangers that have a massive following. And again, there are a lot of transplants that live here, a lot of retirees, a lot of snowbirds, as we call them, that live in the Tampa Bay area that are here for 6 months and then go back to where they live in Philadelphia or Toronto or wherever for the summer months. there's a lot of that, but it's incumbent on the teams. It's the same thing with the Buccaneers on don't sell your tickets to other fans, but it's not exclusive to this market, to what you're saying. We've seen it in numerous other places where they ban the opposing fans, whether you're in California and they're banning the Raider fans from coming to a Chargers game.
I don't love it.
You're in terms of you don't love the ban. You don't love the ban.
You're asking the fan to pay a premium, especially for these playoff tickets.
Right.
And you're telling me I can't turn around and sell it to TJ Rives, who might be down the street, a neighbor of mine who happens to be a Flyer fan or a Raider fan, and make a profit on it. I don't think that's fair when you're asking the fan to pay such a premium for these tickets.
Well, and here's the other component to that, and we don't want to go too far into the weeds on it, but if the team has leftover tickets and they're selling it to a broker, by the way, who's going to turn around and sell it to Ranger fans or sell it to Pittsburgh Steeler fans or sell it, I mean, pick one. The only two sports that really don't have this, even in the postseason, are Major League Baseball and the NBA.
Right.
For example, game one in Golden State is coming up. The Boston Celtics aren't going to have 1,500, 2,000, 5,000 people there.
Right.
Now, interesting, in that same arena, when Duke came to play there in college basketball, they brought alumni and people from North Carolina. They brought about 10,000 there. But again, that's alleged neutral site college basketball. Right. But my point is, for the Celtics, it's not like there might be a couple of hundred. There might be 500, but there's not going to be 5,000 or 10,000 Celtic fans that go all the way out to Golden State. It's not the same in the NBA and baseball. You agree with that?
I do agree with that. Totally agree with that. All right, let's get to the world of golf, which I know you are very well versed in with your PGA Tour experiences over the years. Dustin Johnson, Graham McDowell, a guy from my alma mater, UAB, Sergio, some of these other older names have made the decision they're going to play in the Saudi Arabian Tour. Your thoughts, especially with a guy like DJ. He's probably the biggest name that we all know and recognize. These other guys have been kind of fading in their career, where DJ's still a prime player. Just tell me your thoughts on some of those names.
That's the key name. That is the key name right now, because others will follow. I believe you will see others follow in some of the other events. And again, not everybody may be a golf person. So here's the gist of it. They have created a massive, lucrative, separate tour from the PGA Tour. It is called the LIV Golf, not Live, not LIV, LIV Golf International series here of tournaments. They're going to begin in London next weekend, but then come to the United States and play 4 tournaments in the United States through the summer and the late summer, and eventually end up at Trump's Trump National Doral in Miami, where, much like Jason Powers rolls, the winning two-man team will split $16 million, $8 million apiece, which is the highest purse payout. Now, granted, the PGA Tour's championship, the Tour Championship, pays out $10 million to an individual. This is a $16 million payout for first, $8 million to the two-man team that finishes second, and $4 million to the two-man team that finishes third. It is silly money. The report is Dustin Johnson was given the guaranteed $100 million plus to take the plunge. So the Saudi Arabian money is causing controversy. The PGA Tour is going to create backlash and suspend these guys and say, okay, you want to go do that? You're not playing on our tour anymore. You're not playing in our events. So
real quick, these are not the majors. These are just the weekly events.
Right. And that's the point I was coming to. So thank you for making it. The PGA Tour has no say-so in the Masters. Golf people know this, but the average sports fan might not know this. The PGA Tour does not control the U.S. Open. It does not control the PGA Championship. It does not control the Open Championship. Now, they have some influence with the Royal and Ancient, the R&A, on the British Open, the Open Championship. But it's going to be up to the R&A to decide, are we letting these guys come play in our event or not? And so, again, it's a competing tour. Greg Norman is behind it, the Shark. You and I have talked about his documentary that you've watched. Greg Norman has wanted an alternative tour to the PGA Tour for 30 years, Mr. Powers, going back to the 90s. He's wanted to do this. So it finally exists now. It's an 8-event tour. I'm with all these guys that just have the attitude and the mindset. I want to make whatever I can make. They're independent contractors, and let's stay tuned. The PGA Tour is going to try to lower the boom on them and stop this from growing. But the next step, I mean, common sense and knowing the sport is who's the next big name, whether it's Phil Mickelson that agrees to play in the first event or some of the events. Is there another big name or two? Because once that toothpaste is out of the tube, this thing will exist for however long it exists, with guys jumping and going and taking the money. And let's see what happens. So the Alternative Golf Tour is about to be here, and they're going to play several events in the United States. My understanding right now is they don't even have a television contract to show this in the U.S. It may just be on the internet only.
Wow.
And again, if you're the Golf Channel, if you're ESPN, if you're CBS, you're not going to come. You are not coming near this thing for fear that the PGA Tour cuts you off now and forever for trying to help it out.
Yep.
Stay tuned.
This could be one. This could be where you see one of these alternative channels, like I'm just trying to pick of a sport, like one of these
Amazon Prime, maybe Amazon Prime maybe sticks in and does this, or somebody else on the stream, Apple Plus. Somebody sticks in and says, we'll be your home, because we know live sports has audience.
Yep.
And we'll find out if the money, the lure of the money, not the prestige, really resonates with the golf fan and the viewer, the sports fan, the sports viewer. Does it matter that this guy's going for $8 million on this putt? I don't know how much that matters, but we're about to find out with the LIV Invitational, LIV Golf here.
All right, on the other side of the golf world, Las Vegas, Nevada, were you riveted to Aaron Rodgers' 10-footer at the gun to win it for Brady and Rodgers last night, about probably start of the third period in Lightning Rangers?
Well, I watched a little of it, and again, Brady and Rodgers were a two-man team, and what a surprise. Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, who've been on the wrong end with Tom Brady in particular, were on the other team.
Yep.
Great thing for charity. I did not see a lot of it because of the hockey game that was going on, but we clearly know these guys, in particular, Brady and Rodgers, don't fool around. I love what Josh Allen at one point was saying to Mahomes, that you could see Brady, he hadn't been at the OTAs. He's been playing golf. You can tell by his game, the spin on the ball, the judgment, whatever. He's not been at OTAs practicing with the Buccaneers. So it was fun. It's a fun event. They've continued it on. Remember, Phil and Tiger were part of this a couple of years ago. Phil was part of it with Bryson DeChambeau last year. Phil right now laying low for comments he made about the LIV Golf Tour. So he's like in witness protection. So he wasn't there to be part of it.
Yeah.
But it was a fun event. They raised a lot of money for charity. And again, those are stars. Those are icons. And the Buccaneers will see two of those teams in the regular season, the Packers and the Chiefs at home. So it was good. He got on the team with Aaron Rodgers this time, because if you remember a year ago in Montana, he and Phil were joking around, Brady and Phil, until they started losing. And then Brady got that serious competitive look on his face like, oh, I don't want to lose to this guy.
Right.
Well, the best way to not lose to him is get him on your team. And Aaron Rodgers made the key putt, and they ended up winning the match out in Las Vegas with the High Rollers.
Yeah, there you go. All right, a couple NFL topics. Are you as surprised as I am that we've still not had a Deshaun Watson suspension yet? We've had another allegation come out.
Right.
The NFL has spoken to Watson a couple of weeks ago in person. They've done all the due diligence. There's not going to be a criminal case, apparently. Are you shocked that we're in June and there's still not any clarity on this?
They move on their own timeline, but I think everybody can see and understand he's getting some kind of suspension. Now, how long is it? The reports are that it may be a year-long suspension that could be reduced. It could be an 8-game, half of the season, now a 17-game schedule, and that maybe gets reduced. But there are too many allegations. And remember, they previously suspended Ezekiel Elliott of the Cowboys for 4 games on allegations, not criminal charges, but allegations. They suspended Ben Roethlisberger without a criminal conviction, without the charges sticking. They dropped the charges. He still got a suspension. So it is a given. At this point, he's going to get suspended for some amount of time, especially when you're hearing these women now go public and talk. And I'm not so sure that they criminally don't come back and reopen this, because there's not a guarantee that there won't be pressure to go back and revisit this and maybe go before another grand jury again, or do it another way in the Houston, Texas area. So no, we've not seen the last of this. Yes, he is going to get suspended. And I will be surprised if we get to like training camp time and they say to the Browns, hey, we're still working on it. Go ahead and let him practice with the first team and with everybody. But by the way, this is the craziness of the NFL's disciplinary policies. He will be allowed to practice and he will be allowed to play in preseason games, even while a suspension for the regular season is looming. I have always said, how nuts is that?
Right.
If you are suspended come July and August for the regular season, why are you allowed to be around and practicing games? Suspended means suspended, but that's just another hypothetical to put out there that they would have him around in Cleveland with all of these allegations. It would be one thing if it was one or two women. It's 23 women that are coming forward saying the same general things here. It's
and
crazy.
2 or 3 of them were on Real Sports last week with Brian Gumbel, and we're pretty, from all indications, we're very believable. We're very sincere in what they were saying. And so you just,
Well, and keep one thing in mind. We don't have to keep going down the rabbit hole on this because I know you want to talk about a couple of other NFL things real quick before we have to roll. Is a lot of these women are scared. They're ashamed. They're embarrassed for themselves, their families. They don't want to say anything.
Right.
So now they've taken the courage to come forward and say, yes, me too. This happened to me too. This is what he did to me.
Right.
There needs to be some accountability that there's that many of them. And now the 23rd one that just came forward this weekend, she said she was never going to talk about this publicly, but she watched the bravery of the other women on HBO.
Right.
And she was in tears saying, this is the same thing that happened to me. I'm going to tell my story now. And for a lot of them, they want him prosecuted. They want him in jail. Forget about NFL jail and not playing for the Browns. They want him in jail. Stay tuned on that, brother.
All right. 2 sad passings. One close to our neighborhood here in Tampa. Calvin Mcgee and Marion Barber. Marion Barber just passed away on Wednesday, was reported. And then Calvin Mcgee, a guy you and I know a little bit, longtime Buccaneer, college football coach for many years, was very attached to Rich Rodriguez, coached with him for many years, was coaching at Jacksonville State, passed away after a heart attack. Just your thoughts, especially on Calvin, a guy you probably know a little bit.
I do know him a little bit. And he was with the 80s Buccaneers that were so bad for so long, playing, on offense with guys like Steve DeBerg and James Wilder and Steve Young and
Jimmy
on
Giles, those guys,
Jimmy Giles, all the Mark Carrier, all the different guys that were playing in the 80s. And he was an original USF Bulls coach as well. Was around the Bulls in the late 90s. Got to know him a little bit there with Jim Levitt and his original staff. And that's always a special place, a special fraternity for those coaches that were there at the very beginning. Just sad stuff for him and a member of the Buccaneer family. You hurt for his family as well. Great guy on that. And the Marion Barber thing, 38 years of age. We don't know the details at the time you're releasing the podcast here. We don't know what happened. He found dead in his apartment. Maybe had been dead for some time. They're not sure. Still living in the Dallas area, very prominent running back with the Cowboys in the 2000s, only 38 years of age. Awful on any of these things. And it just makes us more conscious of care after football for the guys that are players, care for those that have played in the game, long-term care, mental health. And that part of it's still at the forefront, Jason.
All right, sneaky signing for the Buccaneers. The Ndamukong Suh era in Tampa's over. Akeem Hicks, a guy that I had mentioned back 3-4 months ago that if Suh decided not to re-sign, he'd be a guy could potentially fill that role. Older guy, but a very stout, very good defensive tackle. Perfect pairing for Vita Vea if his head's into it, if he's engaged and all that. Your quick thoughts on Akeem Hicks?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a bona fide replacement. You never say never on Suh coming back, but it's going to be at a discounted price. They got no money. And of course, you drafted Logan Hall, a defensive tackle out of Houston as well. So that seems to be the replacements for him. You can't have enough depth right now, especially on the defensive line. That's a need for this team, and that's a big dude to put next to Vita Vea. Good luck trying to run through the middle of the Buccaneer defense if those guys are healthy. So we're anxious to see what Todd Bowles' defense will look like 2022 version, but you definitely have reinforcements up front on the defensive line to be excited about if you're a Buccaneer fan.
All right, NBA Finals. Let's get a quick thought on that. Does Curry have to win an MVP to solidify his legacy? Everybody's talking about he's never won an MVP and all that stuff. Obviously, the Warriors need to win the championship, for him to be an MVP candidate. But your thoughts on Curry?
I don't know that he has to have. I think he's a Hall of Famer. I think he's one of the. I keep saying this, and they're playing the Celtics. So I used to be the biggest Celtic fan that you could find because I had no NBA team when I grew up in Tennessee, and I gravitated to Larry Bird and the Chief and McHale and Dennis Johnson and Ainge and the Celtics back in the 80s. I never thought, this is why you don't say never. I never thought in my lifetime that I would see this or say this. I never thought I'd see a better shooter than Larry Bird.
Yeah.
Here it comes. Stephen Curry's a better shooter than Larry Bird. He's more electric, greater range, quick trigger. I mean, there are others that have been shooters, but maybe not to Bird standards. I think Curry's right there, if not beyond it. He's won championships. They're the favorites to win this one. Good luck to the Celtics with the first two games out there. We'll see if the series goes deep. But no, to answer your question, I think his legacy is cemented, Steph Curry here. And let's just see if the Warriors rock and roll and get another title with Klay Thompson back fully healthy on that team, and the other components, Jordan Poole that they have and the others that they have around there. They've retooled it. Draymond Green, again, that's all the way out on the left coast. I will tell you this, that in terms of West Coast, the love-hate thing with Golden State is very real. In places like Portland and Denver and Phoenix and LA, they hate those guys. So there will be a tune-in factor for the hate factor on Golden State. And it's kind of the same way it works out for the NBA. New York, Philadelphia, Washington, they hate Boston the same way. So you got a lot of hate factor in these finals, Jason.
They should get a good rating, and that should be a pretty good rating.
Is your pick that Boston has a chance in this, or you think it's
it'll
Golden State like
I think
five or six?
Golden State in 6 games. I think
the NBA is still doing the 2-3-2, right? Or did they go back to the 2-2-1-1-1?
2-2. I think it's 2-2-1-1-1.
I think if they get out to the 2-0 lead, it could be a sweep. Or I mean, I know I'm not giving the Celtics
maybe a 5-gamer. Yeah.
So maybe
I just think Golden State's got too many guys that can score. I think they got 4 guys that can score 30.
And go figure the Celtics. They win game 5 in Miami, and I know they're beat up too, but then they lose game 6 at home to Miami, and then they go win game 7 in Miami. So they're dangerous to win a game in San Francisco, but we'll see.
All right, last thing, I'll get you out of here. The summer of TJ has begun. The missus is out of school. The twins are probably sleeping right now.
Yes, that is true. Confirmed as we record this. Yes.
Give the audience a quick glimpse.
We got to recharge the batteries a little bit. They're going to do Disney, which they have done, and then we may have a little family vacay. We went to Vegas a year ago, and we were out there for the Stanley Cup Finals. Remember, in late June, that we're running late because of the schedule, and they were supposed to play the Vegas Golden Knights, and we flew 3,000 miles to Vegas, maybe to be at Game 1 for the Lightning in Vegas, and Vegas gets beat by Montreal, and Game 1 is Montreal at Tampa Bay, 3,000 miles back to the east while we're in Vegas on the Vegas trip. But we did the Hoover Dam, all that. The summer of Rives, I don't know what all we're going to do. We're going to probably end up at a beach somewhere. And we've taken some summer vacays to Disneyland previously and up to the Washington, D.C. area. I don't have a concrete plan right now in early June on summer of Rives family, but we will get back to you. We did see the Top Gun Maverick movie is outstanding. We recommend that to the audience, and maybe there'll be some other good movies to go and watch. But yeah, we're enjoying some time off before school and the football season, which will be here soon enough, Brother Powers.
And you officially have high schoolers now, right?
Coming soon. I don't want to accept that. They've graduated from the 8th grade, so technically they are high schoolers. That's right.
You have some.
Then we got to start talking about driving lessons.
Yes.
Don't get me started on that.
And you better look at your bank account too, because
car insurance.
Those car insurance quotes
times 2.
Yes. Jeez. All right, brother, Mr. TJ, tell everybody where they can find you.
I always love getting to come on with you. Easiest way to connect on social media is at Buck Sideline Guy. Got some boxing going at Big Fight Weekend. A lot of boxing, a lot of fights, bigfightweekend.com and podcasts. And by the way, if you love what Jason and I are doing, kicking it around on the podcast here, Sports Media Watch podcast and sportsmediawatch.com for all your sports media stuff. There's a bunch of great stuff going on there. So check out Sports Media Watch as well. Like I said, I got a lot of hats this time of year. It'll be Buccaneers season and college season before we know it, though, my friend.
And by the way, this summer, we're going to make this happen. Me and you need to go play 9 holes.
We got to go to the golf course. Let's get it together. Get your boy Felios. We'll get Mike Neighbors. We'll get Peter Blake. I don't know if Peter Blake golfs. We got to get the crews plural together and go hit a golf ball. Absolutely. And then tell stories on the podcast. Let's do it.
We do. All right. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next time. People, hang in there, people. Have a good week. NBA Finals, NHL semifinals underway. Hang in there. Great week. Check out TJ, all the good stuff. And tell a friend about the podcast. We need some more listeners. Have a great week, folks. We'll see you next time. Powers on Sports Podcast.